crypto people. My name is Joey. I'm part of the Chart Guys team here to talk about some crypto coins, the liquidation lows being in that we were looking for last stream ended up being the case. We got some big old bounces across the space here. Bulls love to see it. And now the question is, when are these bounces are going to top out? What is it going to look like when these bounces top out? So we'll get into the charts here. Just going to be a quickie, Friday afternoon quickie here. So let's pop through the chart, see what we're looking at, who's strong, who's weak, where do we stand from here, and all that good stuff. So getting into it here with Bitcoin, obviously we had lost our 53.5K support on that Sunday evening flush. And after you get liquidation flushes like that, those have to be the lows for a while, or else you've got a real problem on your hands. And at this point, retracing more than 50% of the move down from our weekly lower high, we can certainly say that lows are in at this point. So now the focus is on, where's this bounce going to top out? We know that we could still see a solid move to the upside, another 10%, and set a lower high compared to 70.1K. And that's most certainly the most likely scenario unless we see some very notable increasing bull volume come into the space. So what are we looking at? We're watching the 4 hour. So our 4 hour is the nested time frame within the daily. So that's going to be our guide. At this point, we have bulls trying to shape up a healthy 4 hour high or low. As long as this is the low here at 59.5K, then the daily move remains strong, and we'll look for bulls to continue another leg up. If that low is lost, we'd be losing 4 hour 12 EMA, and that would be creating room for bears to form a lower high on the next bounce. Whether it happens straight from here, then we'd be looking for a lower high on the next bounce. And if bulls were to set a higher low and then fall back down through that, that would be a 4 hour downtrend and daily consolidation being underway. So the question is, while we're up here, we obviously saw some very solid fear in the markets. The VIX was up 180% at the highs of Monday. So is anybody looking to hedge up here? It never feels, or it never sounds cool talking about hedging when you got a bounce. It's like, keep the bounce going. But, there's a lot of alts that got big time smoked. The broad market definitely lost some structure, going to be looking for weekly lower highs there next bounce. So anybody who's long and wants to potentially protect, once you get a nice bounce like this, that is the time to look to hedge up a little bit. So what would a hedger be looking for? They'd be looking for a weakness in the 4 hour time frame, a break of the daily stair step, any of those things to give you some indication that the bounce is topping out. You can go short, put your stop over the high, and then you're locked off. That being said, we're certainly going to be looking for a daily high or low next consolidation. There's tons of room for it to form, but on this pullback, we were looking for a daily high or low too, and we stair stepped all the way down. Not by any means saying that is anticipated, but we know just the whole narrative at this point. We've talked about it a good bit with the Fed pivot historically leading to downside in the traditional markets. And if we get serious downside in the traditional markets, Bitcoin likely to have some trouble. So got to be protecting against all scenarios. The other scenario of, hedging is nerdy is that this is still a monthly bull flag. We're holding monthly 12 EMA, and as long as that's the case, this will be a potential monthly bull flag up at all-time highs. So if that's going to be the case, got a few things that need to happen from here. One, we need to get a weekly uptrend. So weekly bounce isn't even underway yet, just because we haven't broken the high of the previous weekly candle. So bulls will be looking to break the high of this week come Sunday evening, or any time after that, to officially get the weekly bounce underway. And then we'll need a weekly trend change back to the bulls to have confidence in a monthly higher low being set. We've seen strong weekly bounces, but an inability to regain that uptrend. So going to be looking for that. And that brings up the next important note here on Bitcoin itself. So we know that we can have more confidence in bounce follow through once we get a daily uptrend. But once you retrace this much of the pullback without getting a daily uptrend, you got to treat the next daily uptrend a little bit differently, because we know a weekly lower high compared to 70.1K is the most likely scenario. So say we do top out here, we have healthy daily consolidation, bulls see another leg up and confirm that uptrend. In most cases, we'd say, all right, great, bulls are really proving something. They finally got the daily uptrend. But you have to be cognizant of the other time frames. And this daily uptrend, this is just a scenario. You see it often where forming an uptrend or confirming an uptrend late in a bounce ends up just leading right to the weekly lower high. So we'll have to be cautious of the potential that if bulls get a daily uptrend from here, that it might just not see much follow through. So that's what we're looking at here on Bitcoin. And to look at Bitcoin dominance, we can see it's the Bitcoin show. So that has been the case. 2-week 12 EMA has been our guide for months, and we're to new 2024 highs. So just going to keep it simple with that. We've got daily uptrend in the shorter term, 2-week uptrend, bigger picture. As long as that's the case on Bitcoin dominance, then Bitcoin remains dominant compared to peers. So to look at one of the weaker peers, we've got ETH. So we know, looking at our monthly time frame, we've lost the monthly 12 EMA. Odds are increasing that we've got this 6-month tightening range that we've been looking at. But also, let me turn on, how was this drawn? Give me a second here. We could just be, the low could be within this tightening range. We haven't technically broken the low of the previous 6-month candle to actually have it enter 6-month consolidation, but we're bouncing right from this trend line. And bulls on ETH are hopeful that we don't have to go deeper into this tightening range. But to compare it to Bitcoin, we'll go to the weekly for it. If we were as strong as Bitcoin, then we would be trading up around 3,100. If we look at these lows of April, lows of July, and we compare that to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's up and over those comfortably. So got to just respect what it is. And as always, ETH BTC is going to tell the story of where ETH stands compared to Bitcoin. And after battling the support, not seeing much follow through on bear breaks, all that, bears finally getting their follow through. So ETH BTC needs to get over daily 12 EMA as step one to bringing ETH USD back into the limelight in some regard. If that's not the case, then it's just not going to be as good of a play compared to Bitcoin for upside. So that being said, still a nice daily bounce, still a lot of room for a daily higher low, and we'll watch the 4-hour trend as our guide, similar to Bitcoin at this point. So we're not technically in a 4-hour uptrend, but we can say if bears see another leg down from here, they'll be beginning to create room for a 4-hour lower high, potential for a 4-hour downtrend to get some daily consolidation underway. If bulls show up from here, then there's hope that we can see the daily bounce continue on up. So if a 4-hour higher low is to shape up from here, step one is going to be an hourly uptrend. So bulls would need to break 2610 to get that underway. And that's the same deal for Bitcoin. We'll go back here. Bitcoin is now testing this resistance at 60.75K. And if they get that little hourly uptrend, next resistance to actually get the 4-hour higher low set officially would be 61.1K. And then we'd be just looking back up to the highs of 62.7K. So got bulls trying to hold this value area low. This is our range back from 2021 that we've been watching for a good while now. And you can see how reactive it has been, acted as resistance on the way up here, then big move up, battle around the POC, and now we're pinging the POC and value area low. So key spot for bulls to hold to try to keep it going, but we're not going to lose track of what we're anticipating on the weekly. So who else is doing some cool stuff? Well, I'm going to tell you who's not doing cool stuff. Let's look at FET. So this is one of our weaker coins. This is potentially a daily bear flag. It's just been going sideways while the rest of the space has been seeing a leg up. So FET is definitely a weak bouncer. Who else is weak? Gala is a weak bouncer, same kind of tightening range, not really getting that extension. And when you compare that to a name like BNB, huge bounce off of the lows. Sol, one of the biggest bounces off of the lows. Who else had a good one? I think AAVE had a huge one. It was just one day. But, lots of strong bouncers out there. FET and Gala aren't one of them. And often when you have fear increase in the space, everybody synchronizes and correlates up a little bit more than usual. I mean, in the crypto space, everybody's pretty correlated. But fear brings correlation to the forefront, happens in the broad market as well. And that's nice because you can use the relative strength and weakness between the coins to have the wind at your back when you're looking to make a trade. So while we're talking about Sol, let's go into that. Sol is still holding monthly 12 EMA, and what Sol bulls hope for, bigger picture, is that this is just a big old cup and handle that can bust to new all-time highs from here. So if that's going to be the case, bulls need to regain a weekly uptrend. So the weekly context is going to be very similar to what we talked about on Bitcoin. Bulls would like a clear daily uptrend, but can't get too jazzed if that happens, because we're still going to be looking for a lower high on the weekly unless we see increasing bull volume. So after being relatively strong on the bounce, we do have room for a 4-hour lower high. And if bears are going to get daily consolidation underway from here, they'll need to confirm a 4-hour downtrend by setting a lower high compared to 163.70 and going down and breaking wherever the bounce starts from, whenever the bounce starts. So, and then once that happens, be looking for a daily high or low. Well, these aren't going to be backburners because backburners are after a strong breakout move, but we can still be watching RSI to gain clues for what's going on under the hood, how hungry are bulls. And if hourly oversold conditions mark these daily higher lows, then that's telling us that there's a lot of people that were sitting on the sideline for that capitulation flush, didn't get in anywhere on the way up, and are now looking to buy a pullback. So let's see, where would hourly oversold be on Sol? Hourly oversold currently sitting around 146. That'll wiggle around a bit as candles continue to print, but something to keep an eye on, and that's where aggressive bulls are going to start taking a peek, but looking for some type of confirmation as things get going. Who else is doing stuff? ZEC. It was a turd for so long, and it's just continuing to rip. So let's go to the monthly. We had multiple tops here in the monthly 12 EMA resistance, and now we're up and over. That's like a 6-month bounce getting underway. Tons of room for a 6-month lower high compared to all-time highs. And we're still off. Oh no, we're not off the low on the weekly. We've got a weekly uptrend now. I usually don't designate them on outside bars, but what can you do? In this case, you got nothing else to work with. So lost our daily 12 EMA, decent flush down on Sunday night into Monday, but just V-shaped right back up to new highs. So we've got a 4-hour uptrend as our guide here on ZEC BTC, or ZEC USD. And ZEC is going to be in the spotlight as long as ZEC BTC is riding daily 12 EMA. So we've been riding daily 12 EMA into the heavens, obviously a big wick down on Monday. But as long as that's the case, then ZEC is still, it's the true bull warrior at this point in the intermediate term. But we know that we can anticipate that's not going to last forever. We're here at monthly 12 EMA, and this is just kind of a repeat of what we had with ETH BTC. It's like easy to feel super bullish about it because there's no doubt it is bullish at this point. But when you're in downtrends, when you're testing synthetic resistance overhead, it's not shocking to see something like that top on out. So burden of proof firmly on bears on this ratio chart, and if they can show up, we'll look for that to transfer over into the USD pairing. So anything else looking interesting? Let's look at TON, just because it's one of our only green names here today. We are coming out of blue skies. We're bouncing right from monthly 12 EMA here, and very strong bounce off of the lows. And we got a decent bit of red out there today as we see 4-hour consolidation across the space. It's not unhealthy consolidation in most places, so we can't really say, oh, it's looking like daily bounces are topping out at this point. We'll have to see how that consolidation continues to fare through. But TON just continuing its bounce off of the lows, and it was kind of a weaker bouncer in the beginning. So that begs the next question of, are we going to kind of see some rotation where our weaker bouncers like FET, like Gala, are they going to start to get a leg up while others cool off, or are they just poised to confirm bear flags once others top on out? And that also brings to the forefront another important thing as we look for these daily tops. If we start to see alts get daily consolidation underway, then that will have us look for that to kind of bleed through. When we know the most likely scenario is lower highs, and you start to see names get knocked off one by one, then you can say, all right, odds are kind of shifting that Bitcoin and the rest of the gang is going to follow. So TON, just a 4-hour uptrend as our guide for this daily move. Anything over 607 going to be a higher low, next consolidation, and that is that one of our old darlings is having a big day. Who was it? One of the S names. Is it Sui? I guess Sui's not having a big day. Oh, yesterday was the big day for Sui. So yeah, massive day. Sui, I mean, that is crazy. 38%. Only in crypto, man. I love it. So we are still looking for a monthly high or low here. There's no, it's not set yet, but it's getting quite close. We've got resistance at 90.24. That's coming into play. That's weekly lower high right there. So now at this point, I think it'll look best on the 3-day. If we reject from that 90.24, then we'll look for an inverse head and shoulders to go ahead and get that monthly high or low set. Due to the depth of the pullback, we'll be looking for a monthly lower high. But got some serious relative strength. And what do we have for the guide? Probably hourly 12 EMA in the short term. So yeah, hourly 12 EMA rider almost all the way up off the low. We lost a little bit for a 4-hour bull flag and then just regained it. So if we lose hourly 12 EMA again, that'll be some 4-hour consolidation more legitimately. And we'll say that 4-hour 12 EMA would need to be lost to see some daily consolidation shape on up. All right. Let's see what we got in chat. Yo, what up, Sean? Mr. Step 2, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's see. Sophia says, good to buy into Bitcoin right now. Your risk to reward will be a lot better, Sophia, if you wait for some daily or weekly consolidation at this point. It depends how aggressive you want to be. But if you tuned into the stream on Monday, I was talking about, this is the time for bulls to be taking shots. You want to be buying into fear. You didn't have to be aggro scaling into this, but once we got these little temporary bottoms, it was about buying a higher low where your risk to reward was a little more preferable. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't take a crack at it here. Say you're coming with the thesis that this is going to be a healthy 4-hour higher low and the bounce has many more legs or steps for those legs to the upside. You could make a purchase and have your stop there. The main thing you want to avoid and make sure that you don't do is let's see, is this the right? Yeah, you just don't want to buy up here and have that just be the top of daily consolidation, and then maybe consolidation's not healthy and you end up just buying a daily lower high or 3-day lower high or weekly lower high, whatever it ends up being. We don't have a weekly bounce underway yet, but typically best to purchase on consolidation, and an initial entry up here would be decently aggressive considering that there were a decent number of opportunities on the way up to get positioned before. But it's fine to be aggressive. You just got to have your stop closer or be willing to take the risk of us retracing deeper on consolidation. But in the bigger picture is, I guess that's a good point to bring up. Time frame is always important because I'm speaking more of someone who's navigating a bit more actively. But, bigger picture, Bitcoin's still healthy and could be a monthly bull flag. So if you're like a big picture person and saying, all right, if bears were all that in a bag of chips and they wouldn't have let the bounce retrace beyond the golden pocket on the move back up. So I'm going to take a crack at something. But in general, it'd be a little bit sloppy to enter up here. Let's see. My problem, what is that? I'm rubber your glue. I don't know. My mind went somewhere else when I saw glue, but my pleasure, dude. Let's see. Ryan B. Will ETH BTC bulls show up this weekend or biz as usual? Man, my money's on biz as usual. It's just we saw some other alt ratios see really solid bounces. Like I know we just keep talking about Sol being stronger than everybody else, but like look at that ratio chart bounce. And last stream we were talking about how Sol BTC remaining strong is what has Sol looking as a good bounce candidate, and that obviously followed through in a huge way. But there were alt ratios that bounced strong, and ETH BTC, that's just weak. That's just weak. You're riding 4-hour 12 EMA so long, and you get up and over, and then can't see healthy consolidation. So I'm open to it, especially now that we got these ETH ETFs. I would love for ETH to run the show for a little bit, but just no signs of it yet. No signs of it yet. Let's see. What are my thoughts on the USDT.D chart? Will it break below the resistance, that line that's been holding? I don't know if I've ever looked at that, to be honest. USDT.D. Let's see what we got going. Give it a quick ocular pat down. So starting zoomed out. I've been riding quarterly 12 EMA forever. Lost it. We're looking for a quarterly lower high. Looking at the monthly, still just stair-stepping up. We're also looking for a monthly lower high. And the weekly is just a scraggly uptrend. So will we break below the resistance line that we've been holding? I'm guessing we're talking maybe like that. Or the support line, perhaps, rather than resistance line. Breaking below would be more cohesive with the support line. But yeah, I don't really have a, I would think, okay, here we go. I got my thoughts. Since we're looking for a monthly lower high, since we are looking for a quarterly lower high, I anticipate that this weekly uptrend will be lost at some point. As to if it happens now, if it happens later, I don't know. That's not really my jam. More of a reactive analyst and trader. When we get into places that there's just not much more room to work, then I will be a bit more anticipatory. Like I had a silver play this week that was, it was based off of the ratio chart of gold to silver and the silver chart itself. But this ratio chart, let me zoom this out. It's looking for a monthly lower high. We're testing resistance. When this chart goes down, silver goes up most of the time. That's the overwhelmingly, that's the scenario of the relationship between the underlying and the ratio that you most often get. So with this up here against resistance, I'm like, okay, if bears are going to defend resistance, they don't have much more space to work with. So that gave me some confidence to get in on silver on this day. And you also had silver tested monthly 12 EMA, so it was a multifaceted thesis. But those are the only times that these days that I get very, anticipatory, unless we're at a clear EMA or in like a capitulation style event like we had Monday in the broad markets here. Let's see. Sophia, no problem. New to the Truck Guys channel, lots of gems here. Would you say day trading is a realistic career? Happy to have you. Thanks for tuning in to the channel. And would I say day trading is a realistic career? I honestly wouldn't. It's definitely possible, but just when you look at the numbers of people who pull it off and people who end up finding that it's not for them, the numbers speak for themselves. It's not for most people. I think it can be for almost anybody. I'd say like 99% of the population, I think, is maybe 98. I think is capable of doing it, but it takes a lot of time, and that's ultimately what most people aren't telling you. Like Dan, myself, Lamont, everybody on the team has got thousands and thousands of hours and it ends up, you got to make it a lifestyle. You've got to give up normal things in life. Like it's hard to have a balanced, healthy life outside of trading if you want to take on this career of being a successful day trader. That being said, you can absolutely do it, and you can still have a balanced life while taking on this as a career, but it will take a long time. So if you're willing to commit to something where you might not see any successes for 5 years and very likely won't see any successes for like at least 3 years, and you want to be putting in hours a day, then if that sounds fun to you, then I say go for it. Obviously, I'm a huge advocate for it, but I just don't want to underplay at all the commitment and the like serious need to be down with like delayed gratification and like bigger picture endeavors and stuff like that. If you feel like that just doesn't all sound awesome, then I think swing trading is best, because ultimately day trading is a performance profession and swing trading is an academic endeavor. So if you're going to take on any performance profession, you really need to mold your life around it to be able to do all of that. So that's kind of my take there. Dan K, no problem, dude. Let's see. Mr. Glue says, put it on regular, no monthly regular. I don't know what that means, man. USDT.D. Oh, you're saying regular instead of log. Oh, I see. Maybe you're, yeah, I don't know. Is that what you're looking at? Are we going to break below that? I mean, it'll be the, well, actually, we can give it a little more context. If we were to top out now, I would say breaking below that is not the most likely scenario because we bounced over 50% of this pullback on USDT.D. All right, though, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for spending some of your Friday with me. I know it's an abnormal stream time. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. It helps the algos for us. And I hope everybody has a good weekend. Let's see what we get. If we get a weekend of consolidation, or if bulls can show up and keep the show on the road. I'm not going to get caught with our pants down when we get a lower high, or if we get a lower high, which is very much so the most likely scenario, somewhere up here on this bounce. All right, take care, and I will see y'all next time.